You give us the opening.
The opener. The opener would be welcome to the the comic. Oh boy, what are we calling it these days? The comic Clone Force 99
Yes,
podcast.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
This would be our third attempt at doing this today in the last 24 hours, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. The first one was Vader death. The second one was a Naboo royal death. This was a royal death by Padme for Padme Amidala, aka Comic Clone Force 99.
Yeah.
Very, very sad.
Yeah.
But this is our Rey. This is our redemption.
Yeah. Well,
because if not, all the Sith win. So, because we will not be talking about these 6 comics ever again. If this does not record.
Yes.
If this does not record.
This is it. I have to also confess, all of those attempts were my bad because I was trying to use WebEx and that was just not a good idea. So we're here in beautiful world of Discord and we've got some awesome recording going on. So why are we really here, Ryan? That's what. And really, who are you? So you're my nephew.
Yes, and you are my uncle. Yeah. We're here because we really, really enjoyed the Star Wars movies, the Star Wars, the Star Wars animated series, the shows, all the shorts, like every single piece of live action content is what we have enjoyed. And we thought, hey, well, now we're just waiting around for more shows to come out, and my uncle said, hey, there is a whole comic world out there that we have not really explored. Yes, we've seen stuff here and there, but not to the extent. So he looked up the best way. We found Marvel Unlimited.
Well, we started here, really, is what we did.
We started there.
Yeah, we started here.
In-person comics, and we found that it was going to be way too expensive to get the top 1,500 comics that is Star Wars world. So he found this a great option on Marvel Unlimited, and we decided to start with one of our favorite characters ever, which is Vader. So, yeah.
And it's a good thing since we'll do this 3 times for this one comic.
Yes.
To reiterate.
So if you really want an in-depth version of these 6 comics, come listen to Comic Clone Force 99.
I love it. It doesn't flow off my tongue yet, but it will. I love CCF99. That's like, I love acronyms. So that's what, that's what I love. And we're definitely...
That's what we'll probably call it.
Yeah.
That's what we'll probably call it. CCF99. But that's what it stands for, because we are newbies in the comic world, clearly in the podcast world, because this is our third and final attempt on these first 6 books. So just be aware you will get the best dialogue out of both of us after 2. It's
true. Like, we've had some good takes. I mean, in Hollywood, you got to do a couple of takes, and it's only like. Yeah. I assure you, I have wasted more time on my life with the technology than I have us doing the actual recording of it. So we're going to hit a home run. I love it. I'm going to start off by introing what our comic is today. You can see it on the screen right there. Really and truly, searching for the comics you want is very cumbersome inside of the Marvel Unlimited app, even on the phone or the iPad. It's almost impossible on the computer. I'm not even going to get into it. You have to type the exact title of what you see at the top of the screen, and if I were to show you what that was, it would be Star Wars Darth Vader 2020 hashtag #1 or #1 there.
So yeah, let's we can jump into this. So started with book 1. So basically it's right after episode 5, which is Empire Strikes Back, and we see Luke getting his arm chopped off and fighting Vader. And what were those little red boxes up there? What was our What was your take on those?
Yeah, I liked it. It's basically these thoughts that he has, and you'll start to see that he's cycling through some words, and he's got some thoughts in his mind, and that's really what I think. It's like a key mindset, like a mantra or something he's thinking about. It's his thoughts.
Yeah, super cool, super cool. So he's telling him he's his father, kind of the same type of stuff that he told Padme, which is a little foreshadowing.
Search your feelings, you know it to be true,
Yeah,
it's good.
That type of stuff.
So, this is what you need. He told Padme that. This is what we need. Yeah. And he told Amidala about how they could overthrow the Emperor and take over the Empire. And he really says that here, because he's like, Luke, you can destroy the Emperor, and he has foreseen this.
Yep. He says, so strong, but so weak. So, Vader is angry that basically he didn't join him, and he decides, we're leaving with Z67, the droid that'll be with us on this journey.
Yeah.
Yep, so we're going along.
Oh, remember the red screen with the flash with all of that anger and frustration?
Oh, yes. We see it later in the comic, but the red is just a perfect the perfect idea of what his he feels. It's his anger, his emotion, his rage. So you liked this part right here where page 10. Page 10.
Where Emperor is trying to call Vader after this thing kicks off, and Vader doesn't answer. He straight up just ignores them, and they're like, Grand Vizier, one moment. Look, Lord Vader's shuttle, it's leaving. He's like, Admiral, I'm afraid that Lord Vader is currently unavailable.
Is he now?
Yes. Z67, our droid friend here.
Kind of meeting him.
He basically reprograms him so that he'll self-destruct. That's not going to be a problem, let me tell you what.
Yep, and then on page 12, he says to Z67, he says, we will track down everyone who hid the boy from me, everyone who made him weak, and destroy them.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was really cool. Kind of, that's the main part of his mission.
That's his purpose. That's what the mission is. He's going out the door, and the first stop will be the last place the boy was seen, and he ends up going to Tatooine. How ironic.
Yeah, yep. Feels like everything's on Tatooine. I'm sure that's I know it's an inside joke of all major Star Wars fans that everything seems to circle.
Yep. But, back to Tatooine. Well, anyway, there's some bounty hunters outside of there. They're like, it'd be helpful to take over that shuttle. And, anyway, they land down on Tatooine. And they're walking, the droids have a conversation, and they show up and, end up landing at the home of Clegg Lars. Yeah. Who's Clegg Lars? I don't remember.
So, Clegg Lars is the husband of Smee Mikhailov. That's a basketball player. Smee Skywalker. I said that earlier today too. Yes, Smee Skywalker, which is Anakin's mom. And something cool we noticed, which you can see on your screen right now, is the red flashbacks. That's what they are. They're flashbacks. It's almost as if Vader is looking through them in his eyesight, which is red, but also with a layer of rage, which we just talked about a few minutes earlier. Yeah. So they say, he remembers his mom. It says after their deaths, the house was inherited by Clegg's son, Owen Lars, and his wife, Beru, which we know took in Luke Skywalker. So I thought this was cool. I did not, maybe I'm a noob, but I did not know that. So I knew that Smee had been freed, bought and then freed and then married. But I did not realize that they lived in the same house that Owen and Beru took over and then raised Luke Skywalker. So I thought that was pretty interesting to see that the Skywalker family was
how ironic. The last place in the galaxy you'd think to look for Luke Skywalker, the home where Anakin grew up. Oh wait, no, this wasn't it. That wasn't the same home, but I guess where the mom was killed. So that's not too terribly weird. It's ironic, but
Yeah,
I guess not many people knew about the Anakin connection, and that's something that we forget. We all know who Anakin and Darth Vader ended up being, but like the rest of the population had no clue.
Right.
Nobody knew that.
As we go through this, we see that. So seeing that basically Luke grew up just like him, really into fixing things, and it says
played with the toys and tools. Yep.
Yeah, and just enjoyed flying too. He's always wanted to fly, but I believe his Uncle Owen would not let him leave the planet.
Yeah, I also noticed he was good at fixing things. He always was, and he does these Amidala flashbacks, and I think that's fascinating that Vader's having these thoughts as Vader, because we're not used to thinking in terms of Darth Vader really having that delineation between being Anakin Skywalker or really being Darth Vader.
Yeah. Yep. This is my favorite part of the whole book, which is page 19 and 20. We get to a flashback with the typical Vader red vision over it.
Yep.
With basically what we've assumed is the people he loved. So it says, so it's Yoda, and it says anger leads to hate leads to suffering, and then Padme says, "Come away with me, help us raise our child." And then he sees Anakin, episode 3 Anakin, and he says the same thing that he just told Luke. Hey, we don't have to run anymore. I brought peace. I'm more powerful than Chancellor. We can overthrow him. He sees his son. He says, "Come with me. It's the only way." And I really liked what this was. He says, "I don't." Padme, it cuts to Padme and says, she says, "I don't believe what I'm hearing," almost as if to say, it didn't work on Luke. It didn't work on me.
Yep.
And then the very next slide, you see Luke falling into the abyss, his mom falling into the abyss,
and then Padme,
pregnant Padme falling into the abyss.
Yep, pregnant Padme
is just looking off to the distance. So that was a really good, and that leads into the next panel. I know we're talking panel by panel, but they took the boy and made him weep, and then Z67 says, "You came to punish someone, but unfortunately, there's no one left." And honestly, that's a symbolism to me, is like you came to punish someone, but the only one that deserves punishing is yourself.
And he's so mad. He's standing there shaking his hand. He's so angry.
Yeah. Yep. So angry. So angry. So, that was really, really good, Mike. So.
And then Z67 does a scan of the environment and realizes that there's some headstone markers there, and he ends up reading them, and it's the head markers of Owen and Beru, which, if you remember back to the movie, was it episode 2, where Anakin goes and rages against the Tusken warriors?
Yeah.
He ends up getting very angry, and he blasts the land away, because he's just so distraught over the whole thing. He's wallowing in his own grief. Because he remembers then, another flashback here, he remembers himself sitting in front of the gravestone with Padme, talking about his relationship with his mom and how he promised that this would never happen again because he wasn't strong enough and that he won't fail. And he failed again with Padme, and now he's failing with his son. And it's just it's the same thing over and over and over again.
Because of his fear, and his fear leads to anger.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, very true.
So,
bounty hunters kind of show up that were in space, that... Yeah.
He just is just destroying them. and we're kind of blowing through it, but it really is good stuff. But
yeah,
as far as
the action stuff flows so good. I mean, I don't know about you, but when we're kind of just going through here, and I can go page by page, or I can go panel by panel, and I kind of got a little locked in there to panel by panel. I really like reading it that way, but I think you prefer it going page by page on an iPad. So it's nice no matter what, whether you're on a PC or a Mac. I've used both. I've used the phone. I will say probably the only way to add titles is through the app on the phone or an iPad. Trying to maintain a list on the PC or the Mac, it just straight up does not exist. It's very cumbersome.
Yeah.
So, if Marvel Unlimited wants to, dole out some sponsorships, we'd be happy to oblige. This is, of course, their content. It's very copyrighted, I'm sure. And, thank you for the subscription. It's, I'll thank you for the subscription when you hook us up.
Yes. Let us work in some tools. Get us in some workshops that we can help.
Heck yeah. So next thing they do, go ahead.
So they decide to go to Coruscant, which is Padme's apartment.
Yep.
They rip it open. They have Z67 scan the area
for bugs.
And they do find one because they're trying to find information on who hid Skywalker, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what we're raging about. So
well, you know what? And I didn't realize, but the droid himself kind of figures out the connections between Skywalker and Padme. So the droid himself kind of figures it out because the droid has no idea that this is Anakin underneath the Vader helmet, and he's talking about them being pregnant and all this and that. And so they're looking for the security recordings because they appear to be gone. And he ends up finding a bug. And then he uses the bug to track down where the owner of the bug is. And all of a sudden, you warp out to Vendaxa. And lo and behold, who shows up?
Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks. That was the first thing I thought.
He disappeared in the war. No.
Yeah. That's just your friendly Gungan freedom warrior. And... these spider monkey.
He's actually Darth Jar Jar, but we won't get into that now. That's for another.
That's for another thing. That conversation needs to occur one day between you and I for the podcast. We need to totally have that conversation and come with our theories and just that's great. I love that debate. And then all of a sudden Vader shows up with his thoughts about Luke. And he shows up on Vendaxa, and he's like, if you only knew the power that can save, and he's slicing and dicing these, orchids, octopus spider monkeys, and all of a sudden something gets his attention. What gets his attention, sir?
Padme? Now, what was your first thought? What do you think it was her, or what did you think when you first read it?
Yeah, on the notes I wrote down clone ?
Yeah, yep.
I was like, what's up? There's also, the face changing procedure that Obi-Wan had done during Clone Wars, because let's be for real, we've all seen the TV shows and there's no spoiler alerts, the concept is, obviously, if you didn't figure it out by now, everything's fair game to be discussed. We're just giving you our take here. So it actually jumps and ends there. What was your take on the Padme situation?
Yeah, I thought it was a clone, or I thought it was reminiscent, like you said, of the Obi-Wan Clone Wars episode, or I was thinking it was what the bounty hunter used in episode 2 when Anakin and Obi-Wan were tracking her. I
like that. The face hologram thing.
Jango Fett killed her and then blasted off. So
that's awesome.
That was my first thought.
That's good, dude. That was a deep cut. I like that. Very nice.
Yeah. So, but we move on, and we see he flashbacks immediately.
Yeah. Oh, immediately.
He sees her immediately.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to die. I've been dying a little bit. All this is just flashing through his head when he sees Padme. Apparently, this is some interesting conversations, because he talked about how he was thinking about how she loved him, and I thought it was interesting that he thought they decided not to fall in love. So they were going to keep, he was thinking like, I'm going to keep this a physical thing maybe, or, we're just going to be friends. And I don't know what he was thinking, but he didn't want to give his heart away. And, he gave his heart away to Padme, and he's thinking about all this stuff. Like you get several pages of it, and then bam, you go back to Vendaxa, and instantly whoever this is like, what'd you call me? And, Z67's like, doing the scan, and it's like, well, it seems like Amidala, so this is Darth Vader, who are you? And then bam, she shoots at him, and he stops that laser shot, and, just like Kylo Ren did in episode 7 when he stops that shot. I love that. It's so good, so powerful.
Yep. So, she says, I'm Padme Amidala, and then I just love these flashbacks. She says, Queen, Senator, daughter of Naboo, back from the dead to haunt you from your grave. That was just like, oh my gosh, because it went from basically the first time he saw her to the last time he saw her.
Yeah.
And when he was straight choking her.
Yeah, I like that.
And then he starts to choke her out, and immediately flashes back to when he choked her out. Like, if he's still thinking it's Padme. And then, this is such good content. And then, right so there. Good. And it goes to, he sees her on the ground, and what happens next? He drops her.
Yep.
Can't do it.
Yep.
Can't do it.
No.
Can't choke her out. She literally might be Padme.
Yeah, he has no idea at this point. He's still trying to figure out what's going on. And the droid's like, hey, she's alive. And he's so mad, he's standing there shaking his fist.
Yep. And then he starts slicing up these octopus.
Oh, yeah, I forgot those were here.
Things. Yep. So, then Z67...
He's still just trying to figure out, who are you?
Yeah. No, but then Vader finally figures out.
Yeah, he's like, tell me who you are and don't be afraid.
Yes. Yep, and then, sorry, almost one page back.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'm angry. And then, she's trying to figure out, and then he figures it out, and he sees another flashback of a hand, he figures out that she's a handmaiden from Naboo.
Yep. The handmaidens. Everyone was waiting for it. They're like, dude, get to it already. We know who they are.
Yeah. But then Z67 says she's Sabe, the queen's double, just a shade taller than Padme, slightly more pronounced jaw.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. So, basically, let me see what I wrote. Yes, this was my takeaway from 14. So, they're talking now, and Vader says, before Padme died, she was stolen away. However, whoever hid her betrayed the Empire. And she says, that doesn't make any sense. She stood with the Jedi, not that. And then she says, if Padme had lived, she would have stood with the Empire. That's what Vader says. And she says, that's insane. Did you even know her? That has got to cut deep.
It's just like the same lack of communication back and forth. Yeah.
And, and he's like, I'll destroy him. But we've talked about this on the first 2 pods, but I'm like, buddy, you were the one that put her basically on her deathbed. So, and in the movie, if I remember correctly, she died because there was no physical reason she died. Yeah. She died because, quote, she lost the will to live.
Yep. Broken heart.
That is bad news.
Like, he bummed her out so badly. She ends up shooting the octopus, and then all of a sudden they realize the gate's open, and they've got to fight side by side. And I love how, in the fight side by side moments, he's flashing back to the end of episode 2, and it's just happening, and he's like reliving his glory days, and he's force pushing, and he's looking down at Padme or Sabe, and he's like, "You have fought well. Now come."
And that is amazing. Just to he just remembers all the same moves they're doing, the same positions they're in. Was pretty awesome to see. But then you fought well. And then, this was my, and he says, we leave it once. Like, Vader doesn't ask for anything, doesn't take no for an answer. And she says, no, just like a Padme. And she says, help me bury them. And he's, starting to get mad. But he doesn't do anything. And she says,
Droid, help me bury
soldiers. Them. Yeah, Droid, help me bury them. And then she says, they were good soldiers. Who walked with me at Padme's funeral. Now, I don't think Vader would have let that. And that's a soft moment for Vader, personally.
Yeah.
Because he honors Padme so much that, and loves Padme so much that they would let Sabe bury soldiers. Like, what does he care? He just leaves dead bodies everywhere.
He does. So. Yeah. This was a very tender moment, and the fact that she walks away. And then probably my favorite part is the last panel, and the robot's like, oh, she's giving orders now?
Yeah.
So
yep.
Good. So good.
Yes. So they're now going to look for the hidden recordings from the apartment.
Yeah.
So Sabe says she hid them on Naboo.
She's got them. She's got those recordings. We're going to go to Naboo. You kind of cut out of the scene with what I thought was interesting, having C-3PO and R2 there. The panel kind of incorporates that as like a big deal. And even the don't be afraid. Like, he remembers her saying things like that. And he's like whispers to himself how he's not afraid. But man, look at that. Like, look at that scene.
Yeah,
That's angry. Just wild.
I'm angry. So that was really good. So then we move on to 3, and you had brought this up on the last edition of our first podcast. The cover, which was they're fighting side by side, and I know it's just art, but because they had just done it multiple times, and he was like, "Wow, she is a pretty decent warrior."
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I know you really like this imagery right here.
I do. So, if I held this comic up, and someday we'll review it, but this one was where I was informed to start. And thank you, my friend Nick, for that advice, because giving us some place to start was really neat. And real quick, there's some scenes in that which maybe you've read, maybe you haven't, but we started there, and I thought it was neat because I remember seeing butterflies when Vader would meditate, and we don't see Vader meditate at all in here. Maybe that was just something that only that comic does, but bottom line, there were butterflies floating around when he would meditate. And when you think about meditation, you're going to go to the place that you think is probably, your safe zone, your safe place, your happy space. And what does it look like when we start this issue? What do we see going on? We see a very happy moment, and we see
probably one of the happiest of his life.
Exactly.
And one of the trips of his life.
Yeah. He's just sitting there remembering when he was hanging out with Padme.
Being her bodyguard.
Oh, yeah.
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 More like having twins. I mean,
now he's going to be like, not disturbed with Sabe. We are not to be disturbed. He's telling the dark soldiers. And he, walks into the palace, and they're looking for the security recordings, and he starts to get shot at, and we find out about the Amidalans. I don't think they're mentioned yet.
Yep. So 2 of her royal security units during the Clone Wars, basically. So they were like, oh yeah, the recordings. They're down here, and blah blah blah. And then they get in the ship, and then you really like this part on page. What page? 11. At the very bottom of 11.
Yeah. Somehow I lost a computer.
Oh,
Technology.
No.
Like, literally, it's just frozen. There we go. I think I hit a key. All better now.
All good.
All good.
The bottom 11 is Vader sitting in a submarine.
Oh, yeah, this one. Sorry. I gotta get out of panel
and I know
mode.
you... Okay.
Okay, yeah.
I know you really... Yeah. I know you really thought that was pretty fun.
I am so tired of doing this. You know what I mean? I'm like half asleep. I'm exhausted. I am so glad this is going to be the last time we are doing this podcast on this comic, because I am just exhausted, and to feign my excitedness, I just think this scene is hilarious, because who here thinks, you know, that this doesn't look hilarious? That Vader's like hanging out like in the movie theater with his buds.
Right. They would never, ever, ever do that.
Yeah. I want to thank you for continuing to do this with me, because I am beat.
I'm with you. This is the last time.
This is it. This is the last hurrah. We're almost done. I'm so thankful. Like, I'm so over all of the technical glitches. I just want to get this one in the blessed can and post it somewhere.
Good. We're good. Hey, we're good.
We're good. Okay.
As long as it's still recording. Is it still recording?
It says it's still recording. It says it's been doing that for 32 minutes. So I swear to God.
Okay. So, and then a big alligator monster destroys the ship. Vader goes Vader mode and cuts the thing in half.
You love this scene. You love this scene.
So they get down to this Naboo outpost. Or sorry, this Gungan outpost.
Yep, the Gungan outpost.
Yes, I really like this scene because two things. One, Anakin's in it. They honor, that was Anakin, the Jedi that Typho mentioned. Even as a child, he served our queen. We mourn his loss and her losses as we mourn her loss. So Amidalans loved Padme, but they also love Anakin. But a funny part about that mural is that Palpatine is in there. You can kind of zoom in on him, and he's got his, typical smirk on.
Totally. So,
that's just funny symbolism that really, he was planning this massive deal from the front. So, from the beginning. So, then Vader gets all mad.
He's like, enough of this! Where are the recordings?
Yes, where are the recordings? I'm trying to find out about my wife.
You swear you'll use them to avenge her death?
And then they say, we're going to kill whoever murdered him. And they say, last we knew, Mustafar, you was going to look for Skywalker. Years later, we learned Mustafar was your domain. You killed them, didn't you? And I think this might be my favorite part of the whole, actually all the books. That he's, and it show, right there, you see her, which we've seen this scene before. You killed them, didn't you? And Anakin burning by the lava river. And he says, glare on the next page. Oh,
of course I did.
I just love that so much.
Yeah.
Because that's the disassociation of Anakin with Vader. I mean, it's just point blank right there. We see it. We got to see it. A pretty cool clip in the new Kenobi series where he says, you didn't kill Anakin, I did, and everyone was like,
yeah, that was really mind blowing. That like in that Obi-Wan show that he took ownership. Like Vader took ownership for the squashing of Anakin, and like didn't let Obi-Wan take that.
Yep. He's like, you can stop beating yourself up because you didn't kill him.
Yeah.
I did. I was like, oh. Then, of course, in typical Star Wars fashion, you see a huge monster about to kill him. Yeah. And flipping. So we moved to book 4, which, start us off with book 4.
Yeah, which really has us in another interesting cover. I saw it. I mean, like, he's holding her in an embrace, and that looks like Sabe to me. Maybe it was Amidala. Either way, it doesn't. I guess it's Amidala, but either way, she's like fading away, and he's Vader doing that. It's totally against his character here. You can see how this really changes. This comic, I really feel like, changes the dynamic of how you looked at Darth Vader between, episode 5 and episode 6. Like, you didn't really... He just seemed like this, like, nameless face... I'll call him faceless character with just a voice,
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem like the person that he is inside. You don't really know who that is. But, like... when you watch enough of Clone Wars and whatever, and then you start to like get inside his head, that's why I think some of these comics are, and really having it in comic form is probably some of the best places to have it, because this is Vader that we're unfamiliar with. So to you and I, this is so fun because this isn't a Vader that we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So then it starts off, basically this monster's huge, and you had mentioned that basically his teeth are the size of either a leg or his knee, go up to his knee. This thing is huge.
Yeah.
And then, cool action scenes.
Yeah,
and
it's really good.
It swallows Vader.
Swallows Vader, but then something happens right at the top of the monster's head. I love this scene right here. You can see Vader right up there at the top, popping out of the top of this dude's head. There's the hole that it left behind. I love that. It's so good.
Just straight slashed him open.
And I love the droid comedy here. I mean, like, there's always like some corny thing a droid says that points out that, this monster was approximately 932 years old, and that here soon he's going to be extinct with an extinction rate of it's going to increase by 83%. And Vader's like, why is this relevant? And you pointed this one out.
Yeah, that in the pupil of the monster, which is almost as tall as Vader looks like.
Yeah.
That the droid says, Z67 says, excellent question, Lord Vader. I'm programmed to deliver forensic analysis, the facts surrounding death. And it's just a mirror of himself.
Yeah.
And Darth Vader, you know what I mean? It's pretty interchangeable. So he really is like a walking just death monster, basically.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a battle. They show up. The Gungan bubbles pop out. I thought that was neat. Z67 warns them not to shoot or else they'll end up getting killed. And we learn about more of the Amidalans that are there to protect. Not just Amidala, because really what they're here to visit is Amidala's grave, as everyone knows. But there's also love for Anakin Skywalker, her Jedi protector. And like Vader's intrigued by that because he's like, you knew them? And he's like, we fought side by side on the Trade Federation invaded. And he remembers himself thinking like, and those two control the pitch. He remembers being taught how to fly, by this guy. And it's neat because like he's got a little bit of a relationship with these people, but apparently it doesn't mean quite enough because of how he completely and utterly brutally kills them all.
Yeah. Yep. That is my Yep. And then there's a cool scene where he's killing everyone and he says for Padme and he says for Anakin.
For Anakin. I love it.
I am just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Again, you see the disassociation where he's just like, who cares, dude?
Yep.
I'm Vader now.
Yep.
But that's what like we've said, but it just is like where everyone thinks, oh, it's just Anakin under there. Like the normal fans, it's just Anakin under there. It's actually not. There's very, 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 very little Anakin.
Yeah.
And even him remembering some guy teaching him to fly, it's like, I don't care. You're standing in my way. Then they go to the grave of Padme.
And Sabe shows up with all of the Amidalans. And this is neat because he totally remembers them all. And he even remembers them all by name.
Yeah. Yep, he remembers them all by name, and it had a specific memory for them, which I thought was super interesting for them to put in there.
Yeah, it's so good.
And you had said earlier how sad he looked with the Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Because Qui-Gon was really the only one that believed in him
until
Obi-Wan was told, "You're training the boy."
Yeah.
So, he remembers them all.
Yeah.
And then my point on this was the very next one of the very next pages that he says, "If you wish to live, leave now," or potentially he's going to say die.
Yeah.
To me, that's just
he gives him a warning. When does he ever give anyone a warning?
I'll clue you in. 0.
Yeah. Yep. You're all going to die now, or you can leave.
Yeah, he had memories of all of them. Yep. You can leave, but...
I love how he flashes back on each of them as he fights them, and he thinks of her. And then it's like he's being chased by the ghosts of his former past, you know?
Yeah.
And they're kicking his butt. I mean, look at that panel right there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in tandem, just crushing them. And he says, "Yeah, let me
Enough! Force choke.
Listen to this. We didn't even talk about this, but if you go one back.
Yeah.
He one more.
Yeah.
Right there. Let me help you. So that's Padme saying, "Let me help you." That's a flashback, and then him going, "Yeah, thanks for helping me." And starts to choke them all.
That's good. Good eye.
Lets him down, and then you like this part with Z67 on the bottom left. Yeah.
They seem quite determined. Perhaps you should finish the job while they're... He force blasts them all away. So good.
Thank you, Z67. Thank you.
So good. And he walks into the temple and he sees this. And I didn't remember what this was really well. So I went back and watched the end of episode 3, and it's neat because he remembers, giving this to Padme, and she ends up wearing it in her funeral. She's like, it's like predominantly displayed because it was the connection between like really young Anakin and the older, more adult Padme, which, creates like an awkward age gap. And apparently they worked out in between episodes 1 and 2 by having him grow up a little bit and her to not be a queen anymore and to become the senator. So thank you for working that out. But as I make a joke, we end up like all of that hits Vader in this temple. And man, he's somber, man.
Yeah, very somber in that imagery, which I think they did a great job with.
He remembers how he made this.
Yeah, and I really love this. And he says, "I made this." And he sees the dead sea monster. He sees 50 Amidalans he killed. He sees the handmaidens that he just defeated in battle. Yep. He says, "I made this for you." And it's like it's a great flashback of this is what I've become. I started off with, "I made this for you," and look what I've done since. Like, I remember her as a young boy, and then I've turned into a weapon of destruction.
Yeah.
So, then he opens the tomb.
Yeah, I also love...
We get a cliffhanger.
Yeah, a nice cliffhanger. I also love this cover, too. I love the artwork because, is it Vader? Is it Anakin? It's really kind of hard to tell here. And really and truly, this is like that dichotomy where he's, slipping away. And, this is kind of a precursor, but, there's good in him. We start to see these flashbacks of good.
Yeah, yep, we definitely do. So I really like the cover as well. And we're at the tomb, and Sabe comes in and says, "Vader, you can't desecrate her." And he's like, "Well, I'll have answers anyway." And he starts to creak it open. And again, I just love these flashbacks. I know there's so many of them, but he sees her in all her glory.
Yep.
Which we never saw this before. Wait, go back.
Yeah.
The butterflies.
Uh-huh.
The butterflies.
Yeah.
Yep. So we had seen butterflies throughout, so that's maybe a little foreshadow, but
I like it.
And then he sees the last image he saw, and he's like, and was like, nope, I won't open it. And the droid we thought was funny that said, "You're right, great call. We don't want to deserve any evidence." Like, yeah, buddy, you don't understand. That's not why we did this. So, and then they find an implant, and then they find the moon where they're going to head next. And you liked this part when Sabe comes out.
Yeah, Vader's like, he tells Sabe to head out and tell all the friends, because really, I need to back up. You think they're all going to, like, the Dark Troopers are going to basically take out Sabe here because no one ever gets to leave, right? So you're kind of reading it, and they're like, I don't know if I would shoot. I don't know if I would just leave because there's new coordinates. And the troopers, the droid's basically telling the trooper to get her, more or less. And the trooper goes to shoot her, and Vader himself stops, that dark trooper, and says, no. Go tell all your friends. Tell them to take me to meet me at Polis Massa. And just like at the end of Episode 3, this is where, Obi-Wan, as you may or may not remember, hid her away at the desert, or at the moon base, where the medical people come in and try and deliver those babies and save Padme. The J-type star skiff transporting Padme Amidala and 2 droids flown by the notorious Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi. She was injured, and he apparently brought her here to try and save her life. And Vader's like, Kenobi. That hate for Kenobi. Yeah. He also remembers this moment because at the end of that movie, he sees Obi-Wan, and Padme mentioning Obi-Wan is such a trigger for him around his hate. And she just wants to be like, I love you, come home with me. And all of a sudden he's yelling liar, and it's like, what? And it was the sight and the reference to Obi-Wan where Padme brought that up that just completely makes Anakin in this setting go crazy. And he does it again here too.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a great imagery right there. But then basically the Amidalans do actually show up because Vader told them to.
Yeah.
And then we get some great Vader just killing it.
Killing all the Amidalans just left and right.
Killing everything. Ship
throwing, forcing, totally smacking down. And then all of a sudden we get cut to this, like, Anakin, and Obi-Wan. This one's really neat because he's choking out Padme, and all of a sudden in a slash, Obi-Wan basically takes out Anakin. And this is how he remembers it. It's like an abbreviated, like, oh yeah, that time when Obi-Wan cut off my arm and both my legs, and left me to die. And he's like, you were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. You were the chosen one. And he remembers Padme choking her.
And actually, this is something we didn't talk about, but I'm seeing it now.
Yeah.
That he says, you're with him. You brought him to kill me. And the next thing he, quote, remembers is Obi-Wan cutting off his limbs and his arm. I think that's beautiful
yeah.
And blinding, because we know there's a lot between there and that scene. We see Anakin's arrogance, we see his delusion, his thought process is just crazy. And I just love that he says, you brought him here to kill me, and the next thing he remembers is him getting cut to pieces.
Yeah.
It just is so funny because I never thought, I don't think we've talked about that.
No, I think you're right.
He really, really thought that, and that's what happened. He tried to kill me. That's why I hate him.
Yeah.
You took Padme away from me.
Yeah.
But his decision did that, buddy.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, kind of that ownership. Like Vader, he can't take ownership for his mistakes.
No, not at all, dude. So, then we see, hey, there's nothing left, and he's, like, getting mad. And then they find the droid, the medical droid that delivered Padme, delivered Luke and Leia. And you see the imagery, and I know I've said this a couple times, but...
Dude, I love you so much. You are hitting a major home run, carrying me, so continue to please bring us home.
I got you.
Please bring us home.
Two things here. One is she says Obi-Wan, and Z67 says that name again. He must have been very important to her, and that is too much to bear. So the very next scene, he just destroys. In that very next, as soon as he got the word out, he just destroys Z67.
Yeah.
But if you go back one, this is a Star Wars lore thing that I'm like, I can't get over that he doesn't know about Leia. This video recording.
You're right. Why didn't he know? I don't have a great answer for you. He should have figured it out right here. And I don't know why the comic doesn't tell it, but they don't reference it because in the movie, she has Luke, she has Leia. I don't remember the order, but like all of it was happening right in this moment. So to me, you're 100% right.
If it's a video, if it's a video, he should see it. But and then she hears him say, "There's good in him." I know.
And the Luke and Leia birthing thing just happened. So maybe the Luke and Leia thing popped on like before.
As he's correcting.
Maybe the video missed that. Maybe it picked up from right here, and the Luke and Leia thing was slightly before that, and he didn't go, "Hey, droid, can you rewind it?"
Yeah. Great. There's just a great panel at the end of this where Vader's looking down, and he sees himself falling, his Clone Wars self falling, and young self falling.
Yeah, it's so good. Just like Luke. Yep, just like Luke when Luke fell at Bespin.
Yep. So then Vader gets back to Coruscant and is like, and Palpatine says, "Have you settled your business?" "Yes, Master." "Oh, really?" And then we get the classic. Sith knows that fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to strength. But you, my friend, have just wallowed in grief, and you need to start all over again. Yeah. With what, Uncle Benny?
With fear. Palps and the lightning fingers. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, our last book, and if you've made it this far, thank you.
Yes. We're almost there. This is it. The home stretch.
Home stretch, guys. I think we knew Palpatine was crazy, but he starts attacking Vader.
Yeah, it's good.
And starts attacking Vader, and they say you basically let rebels escape. You let them live, escape, and
treason.
Try to bomb you on the moon. Like, you should have killed everyone.
Yep, you should have killed them all. You discovered a cell of rebels. You led by Senator Amidala, whom you should have slaughtered. Instead, you let her escape, led by a double of Amidala. Like, he even has flashbacks of Sabe just now, because, like, you let her escape. And at worst, treason. And what do we do with treason? With traitors, Amida? We kill them, my lord.
Yeah.
Guards! The punishing sticks.
They try their best and they can't. They don't. They don't do a single thing.
No.
And he does it without his lightsaber because his Palp says, "Give me that.
Give me that lightsaber." Continue.
So then he's like, "Oh," and then he starts choking them out. We pointed this out, but I really love that you see Palpatine start to choke out him, Vader.
It's so good. This is the first time. The first time we've ever seen this. This is legendary right here.
Yeah, we see Palpatine choke him out, and immediately it cuts to 6 bubbles of, looks like Padme, Sabe, and then 4 generals or higher officials that he's either killed or choked out because he's mad with them, right? He's angry. And I think that's funny that that you see looks like Padme and Sabe.
Dude,
that's what it looks like to me.
This feels like regret to me. Like all the people I did this to, this kind of feels like
this is what it feels like.
Yeah.
This is what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's using the Force. And
I think this was interesting where Palp says, "You are the chosen one, were you not? Destined to bring balance to the Force." You've never really heard Palpatine make that reference.
Yeah.
But who chooses that one? This is cool. We've missed this all the time, and this is the first time I've noticed it. But this right here is powerful because it talks about really how Palpatine is really the puppet master.
Yep.
And really and truly, he is the main bad guy. Let's be for real.
Yeah. Yep. Everyone knows Vader feels like.
Yeah.
But Palpatine is... Some people still think Palpatine is a senator that was survived an execution from the Jedi. For the most part.
That's all the public thinks.
Yeah, and everyone knows Vader just goes around and kills him. So, but yeah, you're right. We did miss that. Then he says, but who chooses the chosen?
Yeah.
And why could they not choose another?
Yeah.
But you are but a tool, Lord Vader.
Yeah. And what do you do with tools when you're done with them? You discard them when they're no longer functioning. And Vader's like, but you lied. You told me that Padme died. And he's like, you're proving my point. You know, he's like, he explains the whole setup to Vader to really set up. This is like the linchpin really on this issue, and explains Palpatine's method at shaming Vader. And that's really what this is all about. How he drives him through, fear, and how he brings him back to power. And it's an entire process that has nothing to do with Padme and nothing to do with his guilt. And he completely just wrenches Vader and completely just squishes all of his, his last remaining mechanical. He just breaks them all like that, like they're nothing.
Yeah.
And probably is squeezing his body like a tin can, and what meat is left on Anakin's bones is probably just being squished and electrocuted.
Which is bananas. I mean,
and he just pitches him on the ground like he's nothing.
Yep. And then
you must find the primacy of power above all else, or you must die. And then he drags him out to Mustafar, and he ditches him in the sand, just like he found him. And he's like, the last time you were here, you were broken. And I found you, and I rebuilt you. And now I'm going to do it again.
Yep. I'm not going to... Well, he says, I'm not going to... You must rebuild yourself.
Yeah, you must do it yourself now.
Without using the Force.
Without using the Force. And your own strength. And, it sounds like maybe his lightsaber. I don't know if he takes that or not. Maybe he takes it.
I don't think he does because I see he throws it down.
Yeah, he throws it down. And then he leaves. And he remembers looking back, and he remembers seeing Obi-Wan leaving as well.
Almost like his father figures.
True.
Leaving. You see Palpatine, who really was like a father to him, in obviously a bad way, but and then Obi-Wan leaving.
Yep.
So
there's the lightsaber. Look at that.
Yep.
It looks so good. This one here really threw me for a curveball because, all of a sudden it kind of comes out of nowhere, and this just kind of happens for Vader because, we're in between movies 5 and 6 here in this comic, and this was just at the end of movie 4, and, he remembers slicing Obi-Wan, but it didn't feel rewarding because, it was just his robe. But then he sees Palpatine laughing at him. And you know what, dude? What if this is Palpatine inside of Vader's mind, live in the moment?
It could be. And that's just hey, I've always been pulling the strings.
I'm always puppeteer, baby.
Yeah.
I'm always taking you down.
Pull the strings.
That's it.
So
pulling those strings. You're just a tool. I can discard you at any point.
Yep. And then, then he says he's alive. He's alive.
The end of that? Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of blew past that this time.
No, you're good.
He totally realizes that Obi-Wan is still alive. Like, he kind of figures it all out. Like, all in that moment. I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Yep. So then, what's his name says
Amidus says, I want to kill. He's gonna want to kill you, right? And he's like, oh, really? And he's like, is that the plan? Please, Grand Vizier, tell me more. And he's like, no. And he's like, no. Let me tell you the plan. I have turned his pain into fear and his fear into anger. But he has learned and forgotten these lessons before. And then we are finally at the end when he goes, so this is the time, and I will send a reminder through an Ochi of Bassoon, an assassin of the Sith, and I will turn his anger back to fear and his fear back into pain as many times as it takes. The end of this podcast.
Yes. And you will not hear it again if everything goes well. So thank you for joining us on our new platform. If you do want to reach out to us, we do have a email contact. You can reach us at CCF99@gmail.com. If you have any questions or you want to see specific content,
TCCF.
definitely do that.
TCCF99.
TCCF99. What did I say?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
TCCF. Yeah. 99@gmail.com.
G3PO.
G3PO. That's good. I like it.
Yeah. So, we're going to be, our next podcast is going to be on the rest of these comics, so we will bring that to you soon. But yeah, thank you, Uncle Benny, for
Ryan.
First podcast. I pray that it works.
You and me both, man.
And yes, so we will see you soon. Thanks a lot.
Oh, wait. May the Force be with you.
How do you turn this off?